how does Verdi use tenors? You know, he can use it in a very heroic way, this high voice, but also in a very naive way. And I think he expresses, I don't know, I'm thinking of four, let's think of four at this moment. Alfredo, it's a very passionate, wild, and yet naive character. And he can be very furious, but he can be very short-minded. I mean, he cannot see the bigger picture, and very passionate. The Duke it's really a horrible, horrible person. I mean, a very narcissistic, egoistic person with power. He's not a tyrant. He's not a mafioso. He's not Machiavello. No, he's just a guy that has a lot of power and is enjoying his life. He would be somebody like, I don't know, a super famous pop star, you know, Hilton in the male version of his time. So somebody that has not a lot to give for good or for bad, and yet is enjoying just life. And these high notes expresses exactly this frivolity. The tenor voice there is frivolity. And then when we think Don Carlo, it's the hero wannabe. You know, he does come and say and confront his father, but he fails. So again, it's a conflicted. There is vulnerability. Alfredo is vulnerable, and Don Carlo is vulnerable. And so the tenor is the most vulnerable voices of all. It can be the most heroic voice, the most direct, the most impressive, because it's all invented up there. But it's also the most vulnerable. You just need one little thing that doesn't work, and bang, it's all kaput. And I think in Don Carlo it's like that. It's and fails again, and fails again. And then you think of Othello. I mean, that is the complete tenor, no? And yet there is again this vulnerability, this terrible jealousy, this animal eating the character inside of himself. And it's the struggle and portrayed through a hero. I mean, they are very heroic, the tenor roles, of course, in Verdi. They have these big caballetas, they go for the high notes, they, you know, Celeste Aida, they are... and yet, the last role Verdi wrote for a tenor, in Falstaff, it's not the principal character. He writes about him and he says, no, it's not the most important role, of course, of the opera. I will just want to write beautiful melodies and the sonnet at the beginning. It's quite interesting that his last tenor role is this very tender, funny, and gentle picaro role. I find it extremely interesting that it's almost a coincidence because of the subject he chose. There was no way to have there a big tenor part. And it turned out to be that the tenor part was a very soft, tender, and lovable character that perceives life not in a different heroic way. There's no alarmi with this one. There is bocca baciata in this one. There is more poetry in that one than in any other Verdi role.